Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Let's Play Pokemon FireRed. I just remember what button the bike was. You need to use TMs to teach good moves to Pokemon. Yeah, I'm already aware of that. I've already been doing that, bud. Anyway, let's finish up the story. Before I forget what I even talked about, I have to get this done, immediately. So, when we last left off in the last episode of Pokemon FireRed, we did go over a story about how me, my old roommate, and dumbass went to a bar, and some guy who was really just giving me bad vibes. Honestly, just the vibes were off. It was not pleasant. Well, anyway, as the conversation progressed, we were just looking to leave. Honestly, I was at least, but we couldn't exactly leave because the guy was directly behind my vehicle with his bike, and it's like, I was too awkward to say, can you just move so I can leave? Plus, dumbass hadn't stopped smoking, and you know what? I had to pick. Do I want to just risk dying or risk an uncomfortable conversation, or do I want cigarette smoke in my car? I chose the first one, if I'm going to be honest with y'all. But anyway, Pen Missile, that's a bug-type move. Let's see what's available. No. That is such a... Yeah, let's not learn it. That's so weak, and it's at an 85% accuracy. No way. That is just a bad move. Anyway, so the guy just turns the conversation to be like, hey, did any of y'all got some smoke? And we're like, didn't we just give you a cigarette? And he's like, no, not that smoke. Not that smoke. And I'm like, oh, I was the first one to figure it out. But the guy was like, yeah, y'all got any of that? And I said, no. No, and I'll just be honest with you, I've said this before, but I've never done anything ever. I know I talk a big game about stuff. I've never done anything like that. But anyway, so I tell him, no, I don't have any. He's like, oh, well, why? And I'm like, seriously? I just said no, and you're like, why? How about no? Is that a good answer? But I was honest with him. I'm just like, it's just not for me. And he's like, I get that. And he turns to my roommate, and he asks him, and my roommate's like, no, I don't either. He said, I actually have a government job, which he actually does. Well, did. He's moved jobs since, but at the time he did. And he said, nah, it's just, I can't for work reasons. And honestly, he was using that as a full excuse. He's like me. He wouldn't do it regardless of anything, which no shame in that. I wouldn't clown. But he was just trying to end the conversation easily. But then it goes to dumbass. The guy was chill with us because we were just like, no, we don't have any. It just ain't for us. We weren't dicks. And the guy was like, you know what? I respect y'all. Y'all are keeping it real. And he turns to dumbass, who goes, no, I don't have any either. And if I wanted, I could report you for it. I'm a cop. He's not a cop. He was a corrections officer in a prison for a little bit, and then he got let go because he's a dumbass. The guy was not pleasant after that. And then they got into an argument over all the legalities. And the guy's like, you gonna report me? He goes, oh no, I'm not gonna report you for this, but just know that I could if I wanted to. And I'm like, what are you doing? You absolute dumbass. And the guy was like, what is your deal, buddy? He's like, I don't like you anymore. I don't like this. And I'm like, stop pissing off the homeless guy. Oh my God. And the guy was like, what's your big deal? And he's like, it's illegal. Ironically enough, in the future, dumbass not only started doing the smoke, he moved up to harder stuff as well. So I guess his morals just went out the window. But anyway, the guy was not happy, and they started yelling at each other. Homeless guy pulled a knife, and it was not a small knife. He pulled a pretty big blade out of his side, and he was ready. And then, like a true dumbass, I got between them. And I diffused the situation. I yelled at dumbass to shut the fuck up and get his ass in my car. And I turned to the guy and I'm like, sir, nobody is going to do anything. We would just like to leave. We apologize. And he was chill with me. He's like, I ain't mad at you. It wasn't you. I said, I know. But we don't want to potentially become an accessory. So we're going to need you just to calm it down. And the guy was like, you know what? I can respect that. And then he just left. And I got in that car and I turned around to face the back seat. My roommate also joined me and we faced the back seat. And the guy and dumbass was like, what? And I was like, you, and I went off. I'm like, you stupid motherfucker. And he's like, what? All I said was, I'm like, you have lost your speaking privileges for the rest of the night. You shut up. And we took him home. And that was just the end of it. Like, I was so done, like, beyond done. And we both went home, and we were both, and me and my roommate went home, and we were like, this was an awful night. And, like, we didn't like the guy that much, but, like, I didn't know how to tell him, like, go away, but because he just kept hanging out with us. Until eventually my roommate actually banned him from the apartment. That was kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie. That was actually kind of funny. He just banned him. Have you heard the legend of the winged mirages? Are you talking about like in the first episode of Pokemon where Ash saw a Ho-Oh? Because if so, right with him. But yeah, that was a thing that happened, and I was just like, I don't know how to process this. And like eventually my roommate told dumbass, you're not welcome at the apartment anymore. Because it started getting just weird. Like he just did weird things. And he was always like that. Like this guy was always weird. And he always made me like he was my friend, but at the same time, I also would get like mildly uncomfortable with him with some things. Like to put it blunt, like we were both big anime fans. My favorite genre of anime is, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's slice of life. I enjoy the tranquility of it. I like the calming nature of just watching life. That's just me. Not like those romantic ones or anything. I mean, those aren't that bad either. Not like his favorite anime. I just think I like a good story. That's me. But also, I'm also a huge fan of horror animes. That's my big thing. I love horror animes. Me and one of my best friends, actually one of my co-workers now, through college, me and him binge watch Higurashi When They Cry. I don't know if anybody's heard of that one. That's a really fucking good anime. Higurashi is great. Still is great. I highly recommend it. But I'm also fans of stuff like Parasite, Another, things like that. Oh, this is the double battle. That's why I have Casper second, so he can help me face. Dumbass's favorite genre of anime was ecchi. And if you don't know what ecchi is, I don't know how to accurately describe it without getting flagged. It should be adult only. It's TVMA stuff. It's not exactly something I would go out of my way to watch. But dumbass, he was in my section for band, and we always ended up sitting next to each other on the buses to away games. Well, one of these away games, he decides, hey, let's watch some anime together. And I'm like, okay, cool. I've got anime at my house. We can watch some. What do you have? And he's like, oh, I've got both seasons of my all-time favorite anime. I'm like, cool, we'll watch it. What's your favorite anime? He goes, Freezing. I had no idea what the show was, and then we watched it, and I was like, truth be told, I was heavily uncomfortable. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I was heavily uncomfortable. And it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable. This show made me genuinely just very uncomfortable. It was trying to think of the best way to even describe it. First off, he was having me watch this on a public transportation vehicle. People saw it, and I was getting dirty looks, and I'm like, not me, him, him, him. I'm just here. It's him, him. It unfortunately, it's kind of hard for me to what's what I'm looking for? Get away from it, because he had me watch 24 episodes of this shit. I was heavily uncomfortable by the amount of uncensored material. Use your imagination. I was very uncomfortable. Highly. Like, look, I know I joke around. I talk a lot of shit on these episodes. I'm not that kind of person. I'm just a goof. Like, I just talk a lot of shit. Like, I'm an entertainer. I just want to make people laugh. That's really all it is. I just want to entertain people, make them laugh, do all that stuff. That makes me feel good about myself. That's why I talk the way I do. Not because I'm this hard-ass motherfucker. I'm actually a big softie. Like, I really am a big softie. I cry for Toy Story 3. We watched that the other day, and I 100% cried while watching it because I'm a big softie. Like, I really am. No, this guy made me like super uncomfortable with that. Like, for real. Like, it was so strange that he just wanted to watch it, and he like got into it. And then he's like, "Oh, we can watch High School DxD." And I'm like, well, "What's that?" And then we watched it, and I'm like, "This is also making me uncomfortable. Can we watch something else?" And he's like, "Nah." Eventually, we watched something else. I put on Angel Beats. I don't know if anybody's seen Angel Beats. That was a beautiful anime, and I 100% cry like a baby at the end of the show. It's a sad anime, like it really is, and I will 100% break down and cry. Like, it gets me. It really does. It is a very heartfelt show, so like when stuff happens at the end of it, it just gets me, and there's no going back for me. I just break down because it's a really good show, and it's a very emotional ending. Another one that I will 100% cry like a baby for is Clannad, specifically Clannad After Story. Like, that one, oh my god, I cried for 10 episodes straight. Like, I just couldn't turn off the waterworks. And then I got to the last episode and I was pissed. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But honestly, the last episode of of the second season just kills it. Kills all the emotion you felt, but it's honestly a very good anime. Oh my god, so it's a slice of life that's like super sad. It's like a romantic story, but like there's no PDA in it. It's truly just it's a great show. I 100% loved it. But honestly, like, one of my favorite anime of all time is actually Steins Gate. And I hated it the first time I saw it. Like, the first time I ever put on Steins Gate, I'm like, this is boring. Like, why the fuck is this such a popular anime? And I stopped watching it after 4 episodes. And then eventually I went back, rewatched it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to give it another try, you know? I'm going to stick through it. I want to see. And it became my favorite show. And I watched the movie for it after, the sequel movie. That was even better. That was such a good show. Oh my god. Honestly, but if you like a good horror anime, I recommend the show Another. Another what? No. I've heard that joke so many times, but the actual name of it is called Another. And it really is it's a really good horror anime. It's my favorite horror anime. It's in my top 3. It's in my top 3 favorite anime of all time. It's actually my number 3. My number 2 is Parasite the Maxim. That, I remember watching it when it first aired. Oh, that was a really good one. I looked forward to Saturdays just so I could watch the next episode. It was so good. Like, really was one of, hands down, the best animes I've ever seen. And it was my favorite until I finished Steins Gate. Such a good show, full of action, minimal horror. It's not really a horror anime as much as it is a sci-fi action anime. I recommend it. It was flawless as far as I'm concerned. It was perfect. Like, truly perfect. But Steins Gate won it for me. But that's like stuff I like. I don't like stuff that this guy likes. And he always wanted to watch like ecchi anime. And I'm like, it's weird. Like, that's not me. I'm not comfortable with that. Like, there are things that I'm just not comfortable with. Watching stuff like that does not make me feel comfortable. It really doesn't. Like, especially on a bus with a lot of other people that can see you. That was weird. And he was like just into it, and it was creepy. Like, fucking weird, man. It's not shit that I go and watch in my spare time. And also on one of those trips to Texas, he fucked up entirely. We came back, and by the way, from our hotel room in Texas back to college, it's like an 8-hour drive. We got back at 4 in the morning. We unpacked. He came up to me and the band director and goes, "Hey, I left my keys in the hotel room." And I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean you left your keys in the hotel room?" Exactly what he meant. He left his keys in the hotel room, and guess what? He had no way to get home. But on the other side, I am going to actually end the part here, and we're actually not going to continue on right now. I'm actually going to go do a bunch of level grinding and getting everything up to level 50, like not level 50, catch 50 Pokemon. That way I can get the experience share. So I'm going to be doing that for a while. So I will see everybody in the next part.